I'll record that. So I am going to begin today's web session about making posts on your website by sharing my screen and sharing a link to a documentation page. Let me share that screen. Um, so I'm starting to amass some training resources on this leanwisconsin.org website. Please understand this is not a final place. You can bookmark it, you can save it, you can put things here for now. Eventually, I would like to create a better location for all of this information. So give me a quick thumbs up in the chat or on your screen if you are seeing the leanwisconsin.org website with the web services on the top. Awesome, thank you. So this is just a website about if you want to see where all of the libraries that have active websites with us, there's a fun map that Anne made. But what I want you to see today is this how-to resources and tutorials. And the monthly office hours, we may update that information. This is a very much a living space at the moment. It is not permanent. But this, you have your email links for your help desk. If you want to look at Divi's own tutorials about the themes, that's here, but some of this might be more useful. This is a link to the YouTube playlist, the Webmaster Tutorial YouTube playlist. And a couple of these, there's a lot more videos on here than this, but how to add a blog post and how to remove a blog post. This is our topic du jour, as it happens, and it's also a handy topic to refer to. Plus, like I said, there's much more information there. And then there's a written guide here. Further, if you click down here, I made a little toggle box. And this is when I send you a written documentation, I'm going to start adding all of that to here. So as you send in questions, I am often creating, using those questions to create a FAQ sort of documentation. And this documentation here is everything that I've managed to put together in written form to date, and I will be continuing to add more to it. Like I'm working currently on how to make a blog post written documentation that might be a little more enhanced than what is here currently. But this content here, it will all download as a PDF. So if you click on it, it will download a PDF and open it up. And then the one I'm actually going to send you a link. If you have not yet added the Publish Press Future login or plugin, sorry, to your website, I'm putting that link directly into the chat as well, so you can download that PDF. We will briefly go over that today. If you get stuck on it, send me a ticket and I can add it to your website, but this is going to be really important to being able to expire and get rid of old information off of your website. So there you've got some direct links. So go ahead and bookmark or keep tabs of this website. I will be adding to it, and this will transition to a more permanent home, hopefully in the nearish someday, I hope, future. But right now, I think it's more important to at least get the documentation put together and back out to you. Okay, we have a good group today. Thank you everybody for joining. If you have questions, throw them into the chat. I'm going to be keeping an eye over here, but I do want to cover quite a bit today, and I promise to try to do it in an hour. So I'm going to dive right in. I'm going to pick on a couple of libraries today that sent in some really good questions and had some other projects on their mind that they needed help with. So I'm going to go ahead and jump between Crandon, Spring Valley, and Colby today to look at each one of their things. So I'm going to start. We're going to assume everybody has been able to actually log into their web page or their web page dashboard. So you've successfully managed to find your admin login and your password, and you've gotten to the point that you've seen the dashboard. And we talked about, usually I try to get in here and double check that everything is up to date. So we're good to go in our updates, and we don't have anything else jumping out at us. The site health status is good for Crandon. So we're going to look at this today. What I want to talk about is some basic definitions of what is a blog post and where does it go? How does it get onto our website? We can see on the backside, and we talked about this if you attended the 101 session. This link right here on our left-hand side takes us to all of the posts that are on our website. A post is a newsy blurb. It usually has a picture, it has some information, basic information, and it is meant to be more or less temporary. It is not a page, it is not a permanent presence necessarily. It can be a long term, but it is usually a newsy, short-lived presence on our website. And so here you see Crandon had a Plant a Pizza program. Let me let somebody in here. We had a Plant a Pizza program that is now expired to draft. There's donations and a fundraising campaign that is now into draft, and some other information. Where does this live on our website? How does that correlate to what our real world looks like? On Crandon's website, this might look very similar to what many of you have on your websites. One of the very standard things on a website is to have this piece, this front page um, with a blog post slider. I have to think of the right term because we've changed terms a couple times. There was meta sliders for a while. But anyway, we are looking at a blog post slider. And this probably exists on a lot of your web pages. As soon as you come on, it cycles through 3 or 4 different newsy headlines. It usually rotates on its own, but you can click on the arrows on either side of it and slow it down and look at this. You have often a picture, a little bit of a blurb, and then the read more button, which will take you to the entire blog post with the content beneath it and our featured image here. This happens automatically. As soon as you create a blog post, it comes here if you do the right things. What are those right things? We're going to jump into the Divi builder and look at how the page is actually structured for a minute. So I'm going to enable this visual builder. I just want you to see what tells your website to put that blog post there. And on Crandon's page, as it loads here for me, maybe. There we go. Okay. So here we have, ignore this is a hidden piece above here. This is the section with the row and then the module that contains our blog post. And when I click up here, you see the blue section appearing. I'm going to repeat this a lot because it takes a little while to get used to this. This blue box has the section, which is a container to hold this green row, which has sections. It can be sectioned off for us. And inside that green row, in this case, the entire thing is a black module. And this module, if we click on the gear for module settings, will bring up the post slider settings. And this is how this module knows to put these four listings on your page. The content of this post slider module is 4 posts. And it is coming from posts that are marked as category, homepage, and or program. It does not include uncategorized posts, which is something that you might want to be aware of. And it will order it by new to old. So the newest thing will be up first. You could do old to new. You could do title A to Z, Z to A. You could do a random. Most often we want the newest thing to pop up first and for the next things to supersede. Once a post has been on there and it was number 4 and something new is added, it'll be knocked off and you only see the newest 4. We can talk about making something sticky later. I might not even talk about that today. We might come back to it later because it's not an essential function at this point. Our button at the end of the thing says read more in our case. You could change it to say something else. We're not going to do that. The excerpt length, how many words is here. There's a bunch of things you can change and customize, but for the most part, just so you know, this is how your web page knows to publish this information here. I'm not going to save any changes. I'm going to exit the visual builder. So I'm going to discard and exit because we didn't do anything of interest today. And then just also for you to be aware, another place that some of these may go is on maybe your programs pages, your adult program, youth, children. Again, if we open the enable visual builder and we see how the front end of your program page, of the adult program page is, I'm not restoring from backup. I was on here earlier and it seems to think I made changes, but I didn't. There is, again, we have the boxes here. And then in this one with the upcoming events box, we have the module settings. And we have, oops, I'm clicking on the wrong thing. Sorry, what I've got is the closed captioning is popping up over my thing. So we actually want to get rid of that. I clicked and dragged, and this happens a lot. Clicking and dragging is one of those things that I do not like about Divi, and you might be with me on that one. Okay, so the upcoming events is its own title box. Down here, if I get down to this black module down here, I click on this and I see it is a blog. So this is another module type, and there's a whole bunch of different module types, and this one is a blog, and this one tells us, again, we want 4 posts that are in the adults category. So as we're making a post, we need to think about which categories we're going to be placing these items in. Just want you to see that you're not going to have to touch your pages. The whole idea here is that you do not have to touch this. This should happen automatically on its own. What you need to do is feed the information that fills in the blanks on your web page. So with that, I'm actually going to jump over to the Spring Valley. Check what I've got here for Spring Valley. Nope, I'm not going to do Spring Valley yet. I am actually going to stay on Crandon, and we are going to create a new post. And Zoom, you need to get out of my way. So we're going to go to Crandon. And we're going to create a new post with some new information that they want to have added to their website. And what they sent me, and actually these are I'm going to put this in chat. What are the 5 things you need to create a post on your website? Let me format this a minute. You need your post content, which is the words that you're going to type in, or you need the poster that you've got that has all of the information on it. And I'm going to use Colby in a few minutes to kind of show you a good example of how you might use a poster to make a post, or then we're going to use words too. So you need your post content, you need an image in a JPEG format. PNG formats do not work. You have to have a JPEG format. It has to be an image file. If you wanted, a PDF would need to be converted to, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. We need your date that you want the post to start if you don't want it to show up immediately. You need to have the date the post expires. And for that, you need to have the Publish Press Future plugin, which is why I included that in the chat. And you need to have any other additional documents or website link that is further information from your post. So you need to have these 5 things prepared before you begin making a post. So Crandon sent me 2 posters, 2 PNG files of posters. So I had to go in, and I'm going to have instructions for you on how to convert a PNG to a JPEG. That will be in the written documentation that I hope to have out tomorrow or early next week. But if you don't know how to do that, let me know. You need to convert it to a JPEG. And then they also sent me the poster, and I'm going to assume that they want these 2 to start today. And the expiration will be after the program ends. And we need to have, and in this case, we'll talk about the additional documents and web links for both Spring Valley and Colby in a second. So I have a poster to work with, and actually, let me see if I can. Okay, I will get you instructions on how to convert ASAP. Let me see if I can share this screen. Can you see the Crandon Public Library acrylics event poster? I just want to make sure that whether that's popping up on yours or if I need to share it separately. Okay, let me see. Let's try. Okay, so this is what they sent me. Is Crandon Public Library presents acrylic on canvas hydrangeas. It's going to be on Saturday, May 20th, 10 a.m. to 10 to 11 a.m. Sign up, etc., etc. They sent it to me as a PNG. The very quick and simple way is to open it in Windows and in Windows Photos, hit Save As, and then you can click down here and save it as a JPEG instead of a PNG. I will send written instructions because that's a really fast overview of that. So I did that. Now we're going to go back to sharing.
Erica?
Yes.
Quick question.
Sure.
Does all computers have the ability to convert those from one to another?
Yes.
File?
It should
Okay.
be. Now, I say that with a small caveat. Yes, Windows computers should have, which most of you have. If you have a Mac, it also should have a program. Windows in Windows 10 and 11 is called Photos.
Okay.
It should be a default program. However, there are some times that it will not work with a PNG if it's a very, very high resolution file. I'm going to say 99% of the time, you're never going to have a problem with it. Just know that every once in a while, you may run into an error with it. But it should be, when you just double click on it in a folder, it should just open it in Photos automatically.
Okay.
Okay. Now I'm going to go back and share my. Okay, share that. We're going back to our page with our post page at Crandon. We're going to step 1, add new post. You can also access this from that sidebar where it has add new. And we're going to call this, look at it. Let's see, it's a painting program. Let's see. Painting program. Can't type today. And I also cannot spell hydrangeas. I am a horror. If it wasn't for spell check, I would be in trouble. And I'm not there anymore. Hydrangeas. They're pretty flowers. I need to be able to spell it. Okay. So we've got our painting program. Hydrangeas is our, we're going to give it as a title. And in a second, as things catch up with me, it should auto-populate my my web link, my permalink for this post. Now, I said the next thing that I make sure I need is the text information or a poster. And I'll show you an example of how you can use a poster later. But right now, I'm just going to type this in, and I'm actually going to steal the information right from this poster. Let's see. Join us to learn a new, actually, I'm going to start with the most important information first is acrylic on canvas. Join us to learn a new technique. That sometimes will autofill. And it will be on Saturday, May 20th, 10 to 11 a.m. And limited registration, call 715-478-3784 to reserve your spot. Let's see. I'm going to keep it at simple at that right now. And you see it says painting program dash hydrangeas up here in the permalink. You can edit this down and just call it painting program, or we could just call it hydrangeas. I cannot spell hydrangeas, so that would get me in a lot of trouble. I think I'm just going to call it painting program for now. Just keep it simple. And we've got our content and we have our plug. Now, the next thing I told you you needed to have was your picture. We are going to set a featured image for this post. If we come over to the right-hand side of our page, we've got several boxes that we can call widgets. We have our most important, publish. This format box is not super important. I rarely use it. I sometimes move it down out of my way. And once you move it once, it'll stay in that way forever in your post edits. But we have our publish, we have our featured image, and we have our categories. And these are going to be the most important pieces. I'm going to set my featured image, and I'm going to use that poster as my featured image. It may not be exactly the right size, but in this case, I'm just going to go ahead with it because this is what I have. And I'm going to see how bad or how well or not well it works. It happens to be saved in my downloads. I'm going to go to Crandon and I am looking for the JPEG file. I can't use the PNG. I'm going to use the JPEG file. Click open. And now it's creating this image. An important thing to think about is this alt text in your and description, caption description. The title is right now hydrangeas. Doesn't mean much to anybody. Alternate text is going to help somebody who has low visibility, cannot see very well, and maybe using a large screen and or might be using a screen reader. A screen reader looks for information about a photograph, so it can interpret it verbally for somebody who cannot see what is on your screen. As we start thinking about accessibility and the ability for anybody to get information and to get to our libraries and access information in our libraries, it's one more step, but it's a very valuable and a very appreciated step for somebody who can't see to add an alt text. The alt text probably could be the title of your program. I'm just going to call it or title of your post, painting program, and I have to spell it. Hydrangeas. And then if you wanted to bring it down here and fill in your caption, that's what would pop up if somebody was hovering over some of that information, or description if they're using some of that screen reader, you can fill that in. But right now, I'm just going to leave it like this and we can come in. A quick hint here is you can edit your image right in this little box. This will bring it up right. You can crop your image and you can scale your image. One of the important things to keep in mind is that a featured image has a preferred size and it will cut off information. And even if you put in a big image in a different shape, it's going to cut it down to a size. The preferred size is 650 by 400 pixels. Hit send there. You're right, I am going to learn how to use this. Thank you for the GIMP converter. That's an excellent one. And can we copy straight from Words, or should we copy from Word and Notepad and paste it in the window? This is a dumb enough editor, you can take it from Word. It's not going to keep too much of the formatting. However, copying it into Notepad and then copying it back into the text box is a really good way to strip it of any extra information that might make it show up a little funny looking. Generally, it's not a problem to go right from Word, but it is actually a really good practice to use Notepad. Okay, we've got that in there. Now, if we wanted to try this, we could see what happens. If we scale it to 600, it's going to be 600 by 503. Or we can come in here and try to crop it. And we can image crop it to an aspect ratio of 650 by 400 and move it around a little bit. And that's going to show us how this image is going to show up. So it might cut off some of this information, but that gives us a little more control over what the featured image is going to look like. And it was hit crop again and hit save. And now we have our featured image in the size that they actually want it in for this. Yes, so the preferred size is 650 by 400. I'm going to double check my notes and make sure that's right. And here's a trick. I'm going to jump over to my Canva page, which I accidentally closed.
I have a question real quick, Erica.
Yes, ma'am.
Was that just for the alternative text, or is that for the what's going to go on your screen, what you just did?
That's going for what's actually going on my screen. Yes, the alternative text is just the words. Thanks for asking.
Okay.
Cool. Something I do in Canva is I generally create a blog post, and then I just create all of my posts. I make it as a custom format of 650 by 400, and I dump all of my things in there and make sure it fits. And then I just have any of my upcoming items, I just drop them in there. I could have done that with this one. It probably would have been a good idea to drop it into Canva, crop it down, but you can do it natively right within WordPress as well, just so you see that. And that to me is a little reminder of what size I need. Let's see.
So
okay,
is that
so,
like a template in Canva?
Yep, I just do that as a template, my little cheat. And now I'm going to hit set featured image, and you'll see that preview right there waiting for us. Okay, we got as far as we've created our title, we've got our permalink, we have our text included here, we have our featured image set. Now we have to pay attention to our categories. We want this one to appear on the home page. You could add program if you wanted to, but I also want to add adults because this is an adult program. I want it to show up on that adult page in our website. Some websites will default anything uncategorized will automatically go on your front page. If you're not seeing things appear, double check that you've actually selected the right categories for you. And I tend to prefer not to use a ton of different categories because then I forget what one I've applied to which place. So if you need help trying to figure out which categories to use, just send in a ticket. Okay, we've gotten that far. Let's take a look and see what our post is going to look like before we actually send it out to the world. So if we click on preview, it's going to open up into a new page. And what we see here is what our post blog page looks like, not what it looks like on the home page, not what it looks like on the adult program page, but what the actual permanent link looks like. So we have our title, painting programs with hydrangeas. We have the featured image, which is, at this case, the poster. And then we have the text here that we have for this. There's a couple things we could do if we had, we're going to call here, but if we had a Google form or something for registration, we could create a link. There's some other fun things. But this looks good for pretty much a basic post that's going to get the job done. Now, right now, we go back to this publish, and we have its status is currently saved as a draft. Its visibility will be public, and we have publish immediately once we hit publish. There are a couple different statuses. Generally, draft is going to be what you save something is. This pending review is if you had collaborators on a web page and you wanted to just create things and have somebody else come through and check it. The visibility public Most of the time, you're going to be making a public one. If you are in WVLS, you know that our training page on WVLS for VCAT is password protected. You could create a password protected page if you wanted. And you can also create a private link or a private post that you would have to have that permalink. You would have to share this and they would have to put that directly into their website or into their web browser search bar in order to get to it. You would not be able to get to it through searching the website. So we're going to leave this as public. Okay. And now the publishing. We have a couple choices here. We can publish it immediately, or we could say, you know what, program is on May 20th, which is actually this Saturday, so we do want to get it up there. But maybe it was in a case of a summer reading program, maybe we don't want it to go up there quite yet. Maybe we actually want to have it happen in June instead. And if we hit OK, it's going to schedule our post for June 18th at 2:20 in the afternoon. So in this case, you wouldn't see it on your website until that time. But for this one, we actually do just want to get it up there. So we're going to say, go ahead, and we're going to hit OK, which means it will publish immediately. One last step, however, before we do all that, when do we want this post to come down? I just moved this widget up, but if you have installed that Publish Press Future plugin, you have an option to create a post expiration, and you can enable that post to expire. In this case, the program is on May 20th. So let's go ahead and it's from 10 to 11 in the morning. So we can go ahead and have that expire probably at 10 a.m., but I'll set it for 11 a.m., May 20th at 11:20. And when it expires, it'll become a draft and it will stay there in your post list, but it will no longer appear on your front page. Okay, we've gotten through our list of, we have our post content, our picture in JPEG format. We have the date that we want it to start appearing. We have the expiration date. This one doesn't have any additional documents or web links. We're going to keep it nice and simple. And we will hit publish. Give it a few seconds. You can view your post here. But what I think we want to do is actually come up to our Crandon library. We're going to visit our site. And just like that, we have our entire post on our front page. And if we click on programs for adults, it is automatically right there for us on the blogs. And it's bumped down the other three blog posts that are a little bit older. 500 by 400. Good question, Trevor. We need to have a, this has always been confusing for me. So we need to have a document that talks about all the different, all of the different sizes for all of our different uses on our website. Depending on your website, there are a few places where you want the square one. And there are a few places where you want the featured image for the most of the posts is 650 by 400. We're trying to get to a little more standardizing across things so that we can communicate it. And I also want to create, and this is why I want to jump to Colby in a couple seconds, because there's some, Barbara did some, Ruth did some, Barb just came in. So Ruth did kind of a really cool thing. I don't know if she intended to do it, but she's actually jumping ahead on me, and I want to jump to that to talk about post size. Does that make sense, Trevor? So, okay, we'll circle back to that in a more detailed level, because having all of those summarized in one place, I think, will be helpful. Any other questions on how you create a post and where it goes? Basic. Okay, hang with me, folks.
Wait a minute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, Jean.
Are you using blog posts and posts and meaning the same thing?
Yes, I am. Thank you for getting that. When I say post, it does imply a blog post. Part of the reason I use it I'm using it as shorthand to just say post. And a blog post is a little bit different than some of the other types of things you have on your website. But in this case, every time I say blog or every time I say post, I do mean blog post for this session. And again, for some of you who have been with WordPress for a little while, we used meta slider back there. So there were slider versus blog, and it was a little different. Now we're using just straight blog posts. Okay. I'm going to come over to Colby now. Ruth she had a question for me, but she also, and she's coming on board, and you're picking this up really fast, Ruth. And you did something kind of cool that I'm not sure if you intended it to do it, but I want you to see how she did this and file this away for future use. So we're looking at the Colby Community Library Summer Reading Program for 2023, Color Your World, with registration open June 1st through 10th. Looks great. Again, if I come to the Enable Visual Builder, you see what's happening here is loading. Okay, ignore some of this hidden stuff. If it's faded out, some of this stuff is hidden because we were experimenting with different things. And I think I'm going to come in and clean some of this up because we don't need to have these experiments hanging around here anymore. But here you see the blog post, and now this is going to look a little bit different. The module settings on this one, you still have six posts, and they're all on the home page. But what's different about this one is instead of having that slider, what you have is, and I have to move this out of my way, you have them coming across the entire page, and they're not moving. So it's another way, but it's the same concept, is that you have those six, the most recent six, and you have them appearing here across the top. And right now there's only 5 active. So you see that there's 6 pieces. We could change this to one of the sliders. We could change it to a vertical like it was on the other page. It's the same thing, just a little different module view. Okay, I'm going to exit that. And discard and exit. We're not saving anything today. Okay, so what Ruth did is she created, and this is actually what I'm hoping to create along with Trevor's question on the sizes. She created a poster that completely captured the needed information for a featured image in the exact size it needed to be at the very top of her poster. I think this is the way, and if you didn't do it this way, Ruth, you did a really good job getting close to what I'm trying to do. I would like to create a Canva template in which all of the information you need for a featured image would go into a space at the top of your page, and then you could have the rest of the poster to fill out with some other information. And then you have your poster here down beneath with all of the information. You could create one thing, crop out that one chunk, save it as another piece, and then boom, you've got your poster to print and you've got your Canva page. And then if we have the other odd sizes like the 500 and by 400, we have to work on that to have a template for that. So I don't know if you did that way, Ruth, but if you did, awesome. And I hope you had fun doing it because it looks really good. 2 questions that she sent to me was, okay, she has her featured image here and she has her title. How do I get this image to be bigger? Because it's itty bitty tiny over in the corner. We are going to edit this post, not using the visual builder. We're not going to use Divi builders for posts. We're only going to use the standard editor. When I come in to editing the post, here's my image. And if I click on it, this little menu pops up at the top. And we have an option. We could center this. We could right, left, justify it. If we have other text, you can do some text wrapping around it. I'm going to say WordPress and text wrapping is not always, it doesn't always play super well. Like Word is actually even better, and Word is pretty clunky with text wrapping, but it is an option. But what she really wants to do is to make this bigger. There's this edit button here, the little pencil, and you see that under display settings, we have align, which was the same buttons we were just hitting, left, center, right, none. But then we have this option for how big do we want this image? And here, let's try making it full size. And I have to move my thing so I can actually get to my update. And then there's an update button down here in the corner. And if we hit update, now we see that it's taking up the full space here. Before we send it out to the world, we can preview our changes. And there you have an entire full-size poster there. It is, in this case, it does repeat. One of the things about WordPress, and you can get in and edit your theme editor. There is a way to do this. Anne and I were both kind of trying to wrap our heads around it. She thinks she did it accidentally once, and we kind of played with it. You can get rid of the featured image on the blog post permalink itself, but it's actually really hard to find that setting and to get it in there right. So just know that you're probably going to have to live with your featured image showing up in your blog post. So it's totally fine to throw a poster in here as well. It's just that it is going to have these things in both places if you use the idea of having a featured image that is part of your poster. So what Ruth did was she just threw the poster in here. She also did something else, and I don't know if she meant to do this. And it kind of has a cool effect, but it might not be what you were meaning to do. And I'm totally picking on you today, Ruth. I'm sorry. But I really like this because it's a great example. He did, if we go back to the Colby website, let me view my site here. When you looked at this on the front page, here, look at this, there's text down here and a read more. If we click on the read more, it's going to bring us to, we haven't saved our changes yet, so that's why it's still small here. We previewed it, but we haven't updated this. It brings us to the posters, but the text isn't there. What's going on? Oops. So sorry, I have to. So again, but we do have a nice text right here in our blog. What happened here is Ruth used the excerpt part. Oops, I'm going to drag and drop things. I don't want to do that. She used the excerpt little piece here to fill in the text information about the blog or for the blog. This is here. It's a little tiny summary of your information, which can be handy, and it can work in the way that you saw on the front, but it's not going to appear within the actual text box here. So you can do two things. You can leave this poster in here the way it is. Actually, you can do more than two things, but I'm going to give you a couple of examples of things. And you can put your text in underneath that poster. And we can take a quick look at what that looks like when we preview it. So now you have your featured image, you have your poster, and down beneath you have that text that was included in the excerpt. You could do it that way. Or you could decide to make this poster smaller and go back to that medium size that it was and have no alignment on it. And then see if you can play around with this enough, without, and this is where I say this can be really, the text wrapping is sometimes kind of funky. Yeah, it doesn't really want to do that today. I'm not going to play with this too much. You can try to make that text wrap. That's an option to try to get it side by side. I caution you, you can spend a lot of time trying to get that to look just the way you want it. Or you could take the poster out completely, although it's a really nice poster. And you could go with, here's the Colby featured image and just the text. So here's some ideas and things to play with. And Ruth, I'm going to leave this up to you. I will go ahead and make this a larger image, and I'm going to leave the text down there. I'm gonna let you play with that and see what you think you want that to do, and I'll go ahead and update it so it goes live to the public. And so when I actually look at my website now, I still have this here as a blog post. When I click on read more, I have the pretty featured image, I have my poster, and I have the text down beneath. So you can see what makes you happy and how you want to do that. Ah, and then Catherine asks, how are you able to help me find posts our library used for summer reading program last year so I can change the artwork and edit for text? Yes, I can. So, but I do want to do one more thing on Colby while I'm here, because Ruth also sent me, he was like, oh, how do I do this? I swear I'm trying to learn. What do I do with this? I have a, she's like, I have a summer reading brochure and I really want to include that in my summer reading information. How do I get that in there? Again, here's a couple different ways. So now we're going to go into our fifth. If we scroll back up in the chat, and you saw that we had post content, which was your words and posters, your picture in JPEG format, your date for starting, your date for the post expires, and any additional documents. Okay, we're getting to the any additional documents piece of this. Oh, hold on, we can do this. So we're going to go back to our original post page, and Ruth has sent me a PDF of the summer pamphlet, and she has a Spanish version too. So she's going to get to try to come back and decide how she wants to do that. We're going to go with, there's a couple different ways, but since she has two documents, I'm going to show you one way first with an image. And then I'm going to back out because she has a Spanish version as well. I'm going to back out and then I will make a text link. So we are going to create a link within our post so that people can click on it and download a document. We're going to use this poster that is taking up most of our space here. When we go back and we edit it again, if you look down here, I want to make sure I'm going to do this right because there's a couple different places. There is a link, a place to put a link. First, we need to go to our media library. I'm going to do this. I'm going to right click and open this in a new tab. And you can also see like we've got, actually, I think you may have already been ahead of me, and you may, because you were saying you were trying to get your PDFs in here. And sure enough, here's our large summer pamphlet, 4 pages English. I don't even need to upload this. You are on the right path. You got this in here. Now, how do you get it into your post? If you were going to add something new, you scroll up to this add new and you select your file, and you would go to your downloads and you would find that file, which in this case, it's already been uploaded, so I'm not going to upload it again. You click on that, hit open, and you would add that to your media library. Like I said, it's already right here. So I'm going to click copy URL to clipboard, go back to edit post, and I am going to paste this, and I'm pretty sure this is the right place to paste it, into that location with, if you are going to put another website in here, I often use open link in a new tab. If it's a PDF, sometimes I do open link in new tab, sometimes I don't. Some people, it automatically downloads in the browser, sometimes it opens in a new tab, but we'll click it today. And then again, I have to move something here, and I click update. And now if I come out here and I update this, and I come back to my page, and I have this. Oh, and I failed. Okay, that wasn't the right spot. Should have played with this earlier. This one's a little tricky. Let's see. Oh, did it just not hold it? Okay, that's the CSS class. Oh, I think I know what I need to do. That's right. Install it. Nope. Nope. See, I didn't test this in advance. Okay, so we don't need to do it here. Ah, I know what it is. Okay, we click the entire image and you click the link button here. Unfortunately, hang on, I gotta move things. I have to scroll down to the bottom. If you click this link button, it will open up your link adding page. So forget everything I just told you about editing it. Come into this little link piece, open a new tab, update. Now we're gonna update. Come back and spin that. And now you see when I hover over top of the poster and you click on that, it will go and it will create the download file of that PDF. So somebody can come and grab it just by clicking right on that. If you want it to be a little more clear that this is an actual thing that you're supposed to click for a link, maybe we don't want that. So we would unclick the link, move that link, delete that. See, now the link will be gone. And now we want to say register in person. Maybe we want to say here, download the English summer reading pamphlet here. And highlight this text. Again, we come up to this insert edit link. And if you still have, go back to your media library and you copy that URL. Click in here. Again, if you click on that gear icon, you'll see that there's an open link in new tab. Also, fun fact, you can actually, without pasting that URL, you could click link and then access it this way. I tend to just always put the URL in just so I make sure I have the exact right thing that I want. And now it's going to turn it blue. I'm going to update that. And when we come here and we click link, now we have a link to that right here. We could add the Spanish language one underneath, and you can click that here. Now let's say, and there's a couple different options that we can do with this. If you wanted to have that pamphlet by itself, there's a few more steps you could do. Let's say you wanted to make a post that was specifically about the pamphlet so that it would be there visible that that is the pamphlet. I'm going to show you this really fast. I'm going to, in the next week, I hope, make a digital bite about this. What you would need to do is to take that first page of your PDF and make it into a JPEG. Use that as your image within your post. Create a new post that says, download our program brochure, and have an image with your first page of your pamphlet or of your pamphlet, and then make that pamphlet a clickable link, which might make more sense than making the poster a clickable link to your thing. So how do you make a PDF into an image file? Here's my favorite little toy. There are other options. I'm not saying that this is the only one, but I happen to love ilovepdf.com. Plus, it's a really easy name to remember because I love PDF. This is a splendid little tool that gives you lots of free ability to convert PDF files. Very, very quick. I did have a staff member who was concerned about privacy because you are uploading documents to an unknown location and downloading them again. Are they keeping them? This website has to be based out of Spain, which is part of the EU, and the European Union has some of the strictest privacy rights, and they have their legal disclaimer or legal explanation of how they do not save any of the documents that are uploaded. And then GIMP, yes, thank you. GIMP is another option. I just happen to love I love PDF. So please, if you love GIMP, GIMP away. Okay, enough said there. Moving on. what you want for this one, you would want the PDF to JPEG. You select the file that you're interested in, and again, we're going to go back to Colby, and we're going to find our pamphlet. And it's going to show us the preview of what it is. And it does say it's 4 pages. You have an option. You can have everything will be, it will be 4 JPEGs will be created, one of each of your files. I would do normal image quality. High image quality is going to get pretty big for your website and start dragging things down pretty fast. You can also extract images, and that's like if you wanted some of these things individually pulled out as images. But in this case, we want each page to become its own JPEG. I'm going to hit download, or hit convert, hit download. And then it is going to open it as a zip file. And I'm going to quickly come over here and extract, which I can show you how to do sometime. Or you can find some nice, just Google extract files if you don't know how to do it. And we're going to find, it actually brings it up as 4 pages. So I'm going to upload page 1. I'm going to come to add new. Go to my downloads and come to it. It saves it as I love PDF pages to JPEG. And I am looking for, in this case, page 1. And we've got this. It's there. And now we can copy that URL to clipboard, or sorry, we don't want to do that. We're not working with a PDF. We've got our media right there. So if we go back to our media page, we have our large summer reading pamphlet pages, page 001 as a JPEG. And then you can come in and you can create a new post. And might be summer reading pamphlet. This is where I'm going to go through this just really quickly. Oops, I have to actually upload mine. I'm going to go through this quickly so that we can get this question answered. Insert into post. Again, we can make this really big if we want to make it full size. And have it centered. And now I'm going to add that link. Go back to that PDF. And I can actually do that again. I can click in here instead of like going for the URL. Add link. And go through these things. We want this to come up right away, let's say. And, you know, maybe it's down. And we're not, I don't have a featured image on here, so we're going to have to mess with some things yet, but you may not need it. Let's see. Your summer reading pamphlet here. We're not going to add a featured image. We are going to add it to the home page, and you can check. We'll do it. We'll just leave our post expiration blank for now, and then we hit publish. Now let's go back to our Colby library and see there's no photo here, but you can click here to download your summer reading pamphlet. And you click on this and it will download. Oh, yeah, it didn't. You have to put the right URL. I grabbed the other page. You have to put the URL to the pamphlet in there. So going a little fast, making a couple mistakes, but I know it's 3 o'clock and I still want to show you how to recycle last summer's summer reading information. Let me see if Spring Valley, because I didn't get to Spring Valley on this trip. Let's see. Summer reading kickoff, summer concert. Okay, so we don't have one on here as a good example. Catherine, real quick, tell me which library you're at. Oops, first, I have to get into my. I knew that. Okay, oops, pause. I'm gonna scroll back here. Okay, here is summer program published 2021, actually. So I don't know if there was a 2022. Let's see. Let's grab summer program and summer registration 2021. Let's grab these real quick. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We're going to open last year, one of the last summer programs, and we're just going to do this in standard editor. We don't need the Divi builder for the summer program. Well, or do we? That might be. Anne might have been doing something a little different in those days. Oh, I'm in pages, not posts. Okay, you go fast, you start making mistakes. Let's see. Okay. Search posts. Well, you have your library luau. Is that what you're looking to update? Okay, yep, that's what we got. Okay, so if we want to, if you wanted to redo this one, and you might want to change this one up, Catherine, because it looks like it's the, it looks like it's actually a specific, this is too specific. Let me see, another one that we can use as an example. Well, let's say, let's use this as your example. I don't know if you've changed your new hours again this year, but if we, let's see what you have for hours. If this is your current hours, we're just going to copy and drop this in. Okay. So unless, I don't know what date it changed, but we're just going to go ahead and change this to 2023. And then we're going to pretend that the date is the same. You would come over here to the publish and you click on the edit. And then you can leave this April 4, 2022, but change this to 2023. And that will update the date that your post gets published. And that will bump it up to the very front of your, of all of your things by just changing the date that it was. And you click update and that will change it. Does that make sense? That was a very fast example of how to change and recycle an old post. Okay, well, it is 3 o'clock. I'm willing to stick around and answer a couple more questions, but if you need to go, yep, we'll talk about summer reading info with anybody. This hopefully will at least get you started on making your posts and getting that information up there. And congratulations to all of you that are playing with this and getting things up on your websites.
Erica, quick
Yes,
question.
sure.
For that permalink area, if we're asking for a form to sign up for something,
Mhm.
is that where that would go?
Not yes and no. This would be the information you would give them to where to find the form.
Okay,
So like if you were telling somebody, if you hand them a slip of paper and it might say, you know, your LDF library and then slash, and maybe you have registration right after that slash, you would hand that to them and say, go to this website, and that's where they would find the form. Does that make sense?
yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Okay, that's a good question. And that's part of why changing that little link and the permalink, this slug at the end, why changing that to something very simple is very nice, because sometimes you can just write down your library website slash one word, 2 words, and they can find it very easily. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming today, and I'll be around via the tickets, and do watch and check for some updated documentation. Try to get to all of your questions as quickly as I can when I'm not on the road and doing things at different libraries. Stop recording. sharing here.